So, Andy, this is a tough one for me if I'm thinking about it.
What are we talking about?
Is the N64 good?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm conflicted because I do believe that the N64 is fantastic, but then I look at like the grand scheme of the N64 and I'm like, eh.
It's one of those things again, man. Like if you compare it to the overall picture, it's okay. It's not great. I have good memories. I don't think it would stack up to the standards of today's kids.
That's the thing. Like, I mean,
but in its time, whoa.
Well, if I were to say anything, I would say like the N64 is definitely a key product of his time, 110%.
Well, it was Nintendo's initial embodiment of C++ programming language, which was worlds better than assembly. So I'm trying to think of it like, oh snap,
oh shit, knock knock, motherfucker.
Knock knock.
I would say that if I were to like the controller, I think is a kind of a hindrance in like the newer generation picking up an N64 because the controller is just odd to hold, and it's not like any other controller for any of the consoles.
I would love to meet the person at Nintendo in 1995 who said, "Let's make it so someone with 3 hands can use it."
Like, it's comfortable if you're holding it from D-pad to buttons, but that's not how you hold it. You have to use the joystick.
Well, right.
It's like my hands are too close together at that point.
Well, not as a kid, but as an adult, yes. You know, it's harder. I did like how the controller introduced the trigger.
Yes, I will say that.
You know, that was a big thing because they had the shoulder buttons on the SNES, but
I'm going to be honest. I don't even know if I've really used the shoulder buttons.
Most games didn't utilize them. But yeah, I mean, like if you had a game where you needed to use the D-pad and the joystick, it was like,
you're doing like this weird shuffle.
There's C buttons and right hand joystick. This doesn't work.
The C button for camera is the worst. The worst.
Well, and it's not always camera.
I know it's not always camera. But
like
it was the worst.
Ken Griffey Baseball. That's how you run the bases. You have any idea how many times I got pissed off because I hit the wrong yellow button? It's like, no, I didn't want to go to second. I wanted to go home. You took me back to second, and then I got tagged out, you son of a...
Dude, that's just a problem in all baseball games, is like, you have your runner coming around first, and you're like, yes, go to second, and then you realize that they're throwing it a little faster than you thought, and you're like, no, go back to first. No, go to second. No, go back to first. No, keep going to second, and then you get in the pickle, and you're just like, oh,
well, have you played the show at all? The newer shows?
I think the last one I played was 2017.
So they have like you can have they have Road to the Show now where you
I've played that, yeah.
So it's an actual game mode. You basically assume the role of your player in a game. So, you know, you bat when you bat, and then
you're on
there's
base.
a running
you're
interface.
On base. Yeah.
And the running is done with the shoulder buttons.
Oh.
Yes. So like you lead with the shoulder buttons, like you can take a lead, and then like you have to hit the other one to get back if there's a pickoff, or you can go. And then like it follows the way the camera follows you. You have no idea whether the frickin' ball's getting ready to be thrown in. So you're rounding second. It's like just third, and then here you see the guy like saddle the bag to catch the ball, and it's like slide, and then it's a shit show, man. Road to the Show is great because you can also assume the role of a fielder. Like it'll be behind you in the field, and you can like set that up. And we all remember that because it's like batting and.
I always did when I was in like the field, it would just simulate till the next time that a ball was coming my way.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't have to just sit there for these plays, or I would just pick a position where I was involved in a play like every time.
That was the downfall of Little League.
Well, yeah.
When they gave kids the ability to actually fast forward to when they're actually involved in the game, all the kids were like, "Shit, why am I going to go out there and play this thing? Just sit here and don't have to, wait."
So when you see kids just playing with their gloves in the dirt, there's video of me in Little League where I have my glove and I'm just like scooping up dirt with it because like no action was happening, and then that's when I started playing catcher.
When I was a coach, I literally had to give a kid a piggyback ride in the infield to get him to pay attention to the damn game. Like, dude, I mean, he was T-ball, but...
Oh, dude, coaching T-ball was terrifying.
That's not coaching. That's volunteering.
It was not fun. Hi, Christy. But for a newer generation to pick up the N64...
It's gotta be a specific game. Set of games.
So
like Diddy Kong Racing, no.
It's definitely more advanced for a smaller child to pick up. Like, I've tried to get my daughter, who is 4, to play some. Like, she's shown interest in playing some N64 stuff, but it's definitely way more complex and more like you have to be more accurate with your joystick and moving around and steering if you're playing like racing, and like the camera angles for like Mario 64. Like it's definitely more complex in like pick up and play from a like small child's perspective.
Well, like Mario 64 was the first Mario, obviously, that was open world, where you were just like, okay, we're gonna drop you into this place and you can go figure out what the hell everything does.
Yeah.
I think it's a great game. I don't find it very engaging right off the bat. Like, it doesn't grab you initially because there is no direction. It's just like, okay, it's kind of explorative.
Well, I mean, you start outside of Princess Peach's castle, and then you go in, and then you have like the star doors that have like the numbers on them, or they have a singular star.
What are you talking about? It's Bowser's castle.
No, it's Peach's castle.
It's not Peach's castle anymore. It's Bowser's. He took Peach.
Well, yeah, I guess, but...
It's Bowser's now.
I guess. But, it's...
But 120 levels.
It's not 120. It's 120 stars, isn't it? I don't think it's 120 levels. It's like...
I thought there were 6 stars per level, and there were 120. Maybe it's less than that.
There's more than 6 stars per level.
I don't know. I feel like...
I'm pretty sure. It's been a long time since I've actually like sat down and played Mario 64.
There's 6 stars per level.
I feel like there's more.
Because you have the one for the red coins. There's 8 red coins everywhere.
You have the hidden one, and like it's always in like a weird spot to pick it up.
It's in that goofy spot. Then you have one that's
you have to race the Koopa. Then
that's
you have
only on the one.
I thought they had more than.
I mean, there's a couple. So there are a few levels where you race the Koopa, but
there's one where you collect the little penguin. Then bring it back to his mom. Then racing the penguin.
Well, like you started, and like in later levels, you started to get into that weird thing where like you had the desert level where you went down into the pyramid and you had to like do this puzzle to find the.
Then
stuff.
Then there was like the objective ones where like you freed the chain chomp, so you would go through the gate.
That was the first level.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, where you have to pound on the post.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert for those of you who haven't played it. Don't get chomped.
Like Mario 64, like I think it's pretty.
It takes time to get into.
You have to be a little bit older to understand like what's going on. You can't just be a kid roaming around and like figuring it out. Like you can, but it's going to be much less fun for you. Then you have GoldenEye, which is a pretty easy pickup and just point shoot thing. But again, I feel like you have to be a little more advanced.
GoldenEye's better if you watch the movie first. I will say that. I mean, we covered this in depth, so this game.
Yeah, we did. Believe it or not, we did a full episode on GoldenEye when we first started. So if you want to watch that, maybe I'll put the little card thing like somewhere here in the edit after this is done being live and I post the segment. But you have a lot of games for the N64 that released that are just like the first of their kind and just are absolute banger games. Like, again, Mario 64, GoldenEye, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Banjo-Kazooie, Perfect Dark, Mario Kart 64, Wave Race 64.
Stop. Those two are good to start with. Like, Mario Kart 64 will grab you right off the bat because it's racing.
Yes, but it's a little bit, like, when you're going into a racing game, like, it's a little more complex of, like, using the stick to steer and being accurate in your steers and not just like going the wrong way or bumping into walls and just not like you have to be a little bit older. So for like a teenager or a young teen who is growing up on whatever to go back and play these older games if they have a Switch, especially because they have if you have the membership you can play some of these classics on your Switch.
Well, if you play this on a Switch, I don't know.
I mean, everything's better on like the original,
it's
but
not meant to be played on a damn Switch. I'm about to have a moment.
But you've got Wave Race 64, Star Fox 64, the WWF games, Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, the Mario parties. You have Super Smash Brothers, Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Turok. Like
that one. That is the perfect game to start any young child on. Dinosaurs and a hunting knife and a bow.
I mean,
Turok was one of my favorites. You missed a big one on this list, though.
Really?
Yep.
Which one?
Shadows of the Empire.
Oh, yeah, I guess I did miss the Star Wars games. Pod Racer, Rogue Squadron.
Shadows of the Empire.
Shadows of the Empire, yeah. The WCW NWO games as well. Those were fun classics.
No Mercy, man.
What?
No Mercy.
Yeah. WrestleMania 2000.
Only one worth getting. Oh, Clay Fighter? Sculptor's Cut?
Mediocre.
Not worth a grant. Wow. What a hole.
I don't think there's going to be a kid just going and picking up Sculptor's
I did that!
Back in the day!
Yeah, because there's a real angry fucking snowman on it.
They're not going to be picking it up now.
They should. Well, if they were able to find it.
And afford it.
Oh, yeah, I mean. Well, you can get, what is it, 3.5? Like version 3.5 or whatever they call it. There's another one that isn't, like, crazy.
I think
it's everything except for 8 characters. Or, like, 8 or 4 characters. They just added characters to Sculptor's Cut.
I don't remember.
I don't know, it's Clay Fighter. Go get it.
But for the N64, I think
Donkey Kong requires an expansion pack.
Oh yeah, that
was
what
bullshit.
other game required?
I forget what the other one was, but that's bullshit. You know what? If they were like, "Oh, we need more memory," dude, that's like freaking selling a computer game and telling everybody they have to go out and buy a stick of RAM. That's literally what that is.
Yeah.
And the worst part is they planned for that shit because they put a port there for it.
Yes, they did.
Fuck you, Nintendo.
Now, here's... So, I'm going to be... I've never owned an N64 that didn't just already have the expansion pack in there. So...
You want one?
I want to know what was in that slot if the expansion pack wasn't in there.
Fucking nothing. Nothing. It was a little fucking cover that sat there and taunted you. Like I didn't care because I didn't need it for the games that I wanted to play. I don't think it makes any of the games any better.
I don't think so. No.
I think it's only accessed for the 2 games that do need it.
The thing that I hate that I completely forgot about, if I'm being honest, is having a memory card to save your game.
You didn't have to.
Some games you don't have to, but WrestleMania
the memory
and
pack,
stuff, you have to have it.
Yeah, that goes in the controller.
And I think NFL Blitz also. Oh God, that game on an N64 is.
But they did do right by this. Here's the part that sucks, though. You couldn't save your game, but if you had a Rumble pack, that was the introduction to vibration in controllers.
Yeah.
And they capitalized on it by making it an accessory.
And you also had the password system, too.
What?
Some games would have, like, the password system for, like, their cheats.
Like yeah.
Like NFL Blitz, you have, if you get the right combination of things, it would give you, like, all permanent turbo or...
Up, down, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, right.
Like, a bunch of different things you could put in for cheats. I think if you're jumping into the N64...
Get a Game Genie.
Oh, the Game Genie. I think they were... It wasn't Game Genie for the N64, it was Game Shark.
They didn't have both?
I don't think they had a Game Genie for the N64.
I don't know.
I think it was just Game Shark.
I have a Game Genie for Super Nintendo. I mean, it's no good to us. We don't have the codes, but...
We got the internet.
Do you think that's out there?
100%. 1,000% that's out there.
We're gonna play Zombies Ate My Neighbors with Game Genie on.
We can play a lot of stuff with Game Genie on. Dude, I love...
It's broken, though.
Oh.
Because they made like the little front flap that clipped into the lock slot on the game. And one day I was walking out of the living room and had the controller in my hand, and the whole Nintendo kind of came with me.
Well, that's depressing. I think if you're gonna if like a kid's gonna get into the N64, I think being a little bit older is gonna be more beneficial than, if you're looking at the NES and Super NES, like they're so basic that, a lot of it is basic to where they can still have fun without knowing what they're doing. But with the N64, I think it's a little more advanced, so being able to like read and understand and like know, kind of like read the signs of like, what you're supposed to do, or
in what?
In the N64 games just in general. Like, it would benefit to be a little bit older, because I mean when we played the N64, we were probably
how do I say this nicely? I was 7.
Yeah, probably.
N64 was the first console where you actually had to have a fucking brain.
Well, it's
true.
As games have progressed,
it's true.
They've gotten more complex.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, some games for other systems you had to have a brain for.
A little bit.
But some of them that you could just free roam and eventually figure it out. But or try it enough times. And
how about this
stuff?
Mario 64 is the foundation for Grand Theft Auto. Without the cars.
Could you imagine, like, people actually thinking that?
What if we adapted GTA 6 when it came out and redid all the graphics so it was Mario style?
I guarantee you there's somebody out there that's going to take the new Grand Theft Auto and like demake it.
Mamma mia, you think that awesome piece of shit rifle gonna kill me?
I think the N64 is good. I do think the N64 is good. I think it is a very crucial console because it really did introduce some of like the best games of its time with Mario, GoldenEye, the Zeldas, any platformers that it did, the racing, it really did do like the best in terms of that but I do think the age for entry is a little bit higher than the Super Nintendo and the NES.
Here's why I think the N64 may be the most important console across the history of consoles. At least in like the Nintendo line. If you look at the delta between each other generation, the way that everything shifted from Super Nintendo to N64 represents such a big expansion and like the just dedicated move towards what modern gaming is.
I can agree. Yeah, I mean, the N64 came out and kind of did exactly what you said. Is like kind of set the tone for what gaming would become. It just turns out that I think, if in my honest opinion, one of if not the most important console of all time is probably the PlayStation 1.
Well, that's actually what I was just getting ready to say was, but there's no generation of PlayStation before that. Like there's
no, I think
there's no look back on that.
Well,
so there's no delta.
Well, Sony and Nintendo were actually supposed to come together during that Super Nintendo era and release a console together. But then they couldn't. They had a disagreement and couldn't figure out, what they wanted to do.
This was it.
And they split. And Sony was working on their console. Then Nintendo released the N64, and Sony released the PS1,
which has proven to be.
But I think the PS1 came out shortly after the N64.
It was a bit after.
Because they ended up porting some PS1 games to the N64.
Yep. Here's proof that Sony.
Which some of them play well, some of them do not.
Here's proof that Sony did good by the PlayStation 1. We are nearly 20 years after its initial launch. The fucking controller hasn't really changed, and neither has the box. You still put a disc in a box.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure when we get to the PS1 and we talk about that, I mean, the
charm,
the games that it had are just
the small little reissue that I could put a screen on.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one to cover. I mean,
I gotta find that thing.
That one was definitely like foundational.
Siphon filter.
Whoo-wee.